Imagine yourself, half a demon, half a human. Your entire family was murdered because of your heritage, and you are now left alone to fend for yourself. While ridden with grief and anger, you decide to become a demon hunter with one goal in mind: to kill those who took everything from you. Suddenly, one day, while in your office, a woman makes an appearance in front of you, saying she can help you find the people that did this to you and your family. Will you jump at this one in a lifetime opportunity, or will you walk away determined to walk this path alone? Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of The Old, but Certainly Gold, the show where we cover the stories of all the juiciest games of our time. On the menu today is Devil May Cry the First, an action-adventure game published and developed by Capcom. It was released in 2001, originally for the PlayStation 2, but is now available on multiple platforms such as PlayStation 3 and 4, as well as Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, just to name a few. As always, there's just a disclaimer before we start. The storytelling has definitely been shortened just so that the video won't be an hour or too long. And as a content warning, this will be spoiler heavy. And if you don't want to have your gameplay spoiled, I suggest you tune off of this video, and I'll just see you guys in the next one. Now, with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy. So, this story revolves around one of the most iconic demon-slaying badasses we know and love. His name is Dante, a white-haired sex symbol, I must say. And let me tell you guys, I used to freaking love Dante. Well, I sort of still do. He was such a hottie. He is fully dressed in red and black tight-fitting clothing, which really enhances his figure and gorgeous white hair. I really hope you guys are ready for this one, as we're gonna dive into this iconic game. So put on your cowboy hats and let all of us devil-triggering enthusiasts enjoy this ride together, shall we? Let's have some fun. Right, so we are right off the bat introduced to our main protagonist, Dante, who is casually just sitting in his office. Dante is perceived to be a carefree and funny and flamboyant type of person, as he quite often shows off or makes fun or triggers his enemies. He's really laid back no matter the incident that might occur, and really always has witty remarks no matter how bad the occasion might be. He is a half demon, half human, born to a legendary demon named Sparda and a human female named Eva. At a young age, Dante didn't really know of his father's heritage, of him being a demon, and would be trained to refine his combat skills together with his twin brother Virgil by their father. Sadly, his father would disappear and seemingly die in unknown circumstances, and at the age of 8 years old, his mother would then gift both brothers each a half of an amulet before she would seemingly be murdered herself. This amulet is called the Perfect Amulet, which is an ornate amulet which served to be the key to opening the demon world, also known as the Temen ni Gru's Gate. This amulet had been a gift to Eva from Sparda, as he had used it to seal off the demon realm. So, as Eva seemingly dies, and while the twins would survive, they would both be separated, with Dante thinking that his brother most definitely had died as well. Side note, by the way, we are kind of diving into a little bit of a backstory just so that everyone kind of understands the setting and where the story truly starts in the first game, as it can be a little bit confusing otherwise. In the Devil May Cry novel, we learned that years after his mother's death, Dante would frequent a bar named Bobby's Cellar under a new alias as Tony Redgrave, where he would become a mercenary. He would become partners with a man named Gru, and together they would take up different kinds of jobs to make money. He would sadly, though, lose his partner after being betrayed by another mercenary named Gilver, and Gilver manages to turn everyone at the bar against Dante after tricking him and having him kill one of Gru's daughters to end the connection she made between the Earth and the demon world. After all of these events ensues, Dante finally returns to his true name, and with this opens up a business selling services as a demon hunter. And by the way, guys, this is a very quick explanation of the novel as there are a lot more details to the story. Basically, when Gru dies, Dante finds out that Jessica, one of Gru's daughters, had been hallucinating of demons while she was admitted at the sanatorium. While there, he finds that it is infested with demons and she had been fused with a demonic tree that would be using her pain and suffering to make a connection between the human world and the demon world. So Dante has to make a decision to end her life, which Gilver uses to his advantage. If you have not read the novel, I do recommend you guys have a little look in it if you are interested, but for the sake of the video, let's move on. The shop Dante would open would become famously known as Devil May Cry, as the name of the game. So many years pass, and Dante becomes a fully fledged demon hunter who is resting in his office when a woman that looks like she came straight out of the Matrix movie drives right through the doors on her motorcycle and starts a fight with him. Here, she quickly pierces his heart and scoffs at how easy it was to defeat him, basically just scoring him. Without batting an eye, however, Dante gets up and honestly not even fazed by her attack and reveals that he has demonic blood in him and that such tactics won't work on him so easily. And side note, Dante wields a greatsword and two dual pistols with the names Ebony and Ivory. They are the staple guns that he uses in every single game and were crafted by a gunsmith that he met during the Devil May Cry novel. These are semi-automatic pistols which are designed to rapidly fire bullets that Dante instilled his demon power into. Now, the mysterious woman reveals who she is after a quick defeat. Her name is Trish, and she claims that this was just a test to see if Dante truly was as strong as she thought he was. She has come to seek his help to put an end to the underworld, and reveals that a demon emperor named Mundus is planning on crossing over to the human world. Trish needs Dante to help her put a stop to this once and for all. And the reason she sought for his help is because Dante has a vendetta against demons of all kind, as they were responsible for his mother and brother's deaths. Mundus is basically Sparta's enemy, so Dante's father, and he had been sealed away long ago by him, and he's now trying to make a comeback in the human realm on Mallet Island. So Dante has every reason to want to take up this challenge with her, right? Well, he is not yet fully convinced because she reveals that she herself is actually a demon. But as she takes off her sunglasses, why is she even wearing sunglasses in complete darkness beats me, Dante is actually shook by how much her appearance resembles his mother Eva, so he decides to go on this mission with her. Now, a little fun fact about this game, it was actually supposed to be a new installment for the Resident Evil franchise. However, the team of developers actually decided that they wanted to shift gears as they kind of strayed further and further away from being a horror game to a more action-packed instead. And because of that, we have Devil May Cry. So, as Trish finishes explaining her story, we are then brought over to Mallet Island, a place where Mundus has been growing his power for centuries. On the island, there's a big castle we will be traversing, and Trish ultimately just scurries off and leaves us to explore it on our own. This game, honestly, just off the back, looks like a freaking homestead for vampires. I always thought that Dante looked so cool in all that red and black ensemble, which usually is like worn by vampires in anime and movies. I think that's what really caught my attention at first. It's not just his look, guys, okay? I like the gameplay too. I honestly just loved a character from Hellsing named Alucard, which is honestly the biggest reason why I played Devil May Cry in the first place. He is honestly a staple for the full-on red on black ensemble, don't you guys think? I honestly just love that guy. While Dante is traversing the castle, he finds that it is infested with demons that he has to kill off to continue on his mission. While he makes his way through the castle, he finds a greatsword called Alistair, which is a devil arm. And a devil arm is basically a defeated demon's soul that manifests into a demonic weapon, which then makes it sentient. The sword Alistair is one of the two keys Dante needs to unlock his inner power, which is ultimately a power that he possesses as a half-demon that lets him release his devilish potential. The greatsword has the ability to grant its possessor lightning speed and aerial capabilities. The greatsword in-game also lets the user use something called the devil trigger, which basically allows them to use their inner potential or power. It basically just amplifies both physical and magical attributes. I remember the first time I watched the cutscene where he receives the sword and he pierced right through his body and he just like slowly moved up, pressing his body through the hilt. That was honestly pretty gory for a kid. Yeah. I like how he grabs it though and just like all the light beams down at him like, ah. You know it's a pretty freaking cool sword at that point when the like light is beaming down at you like that, making you look all ethereal. It's a pretty nice power up though. All the enemies actually died so much faster after that, which, I mean, I can't complain. A short while after acquiring the greatsword and extensive combat and exploration, Dante encounters a demon with the name Nello Angelo, who makes quite an impression on Dante actually. He takes quite a liking to him and later states that it is quite a shame that he is one of Mundus' servants. Dante has a fight with Nello Angelo, but is almost defeated by him. However, as he sees Dante's amulet dangling around his neck, he starts having a breakdown and what looks to be an enormous amount of pain. And then he flees the scene. However, this is actually not the last time Dante will have a fight with Nello Angelo, as they have another 2 encounters. After this encounter, however, Dante is left to explore the rest of the mansion and runs into a whole army of different demons on his journey. And while in the garden of the mansion, he manages to find another devil arm with the name of Ifrit laying on an altar. As he tries to take it, he hears its voice actually tell him that he will have to pay with the fires of hell for awakening it, and then shackles his arms and tries to pull them apart, but Dante manages to subdue the weapon eventually. The weapon can summon fire and turns Dante into a horned spiky demon. It is basically just 2 gauntlets he wears with metal dragon heads on it. The second time Dante meets Nello Angelo, he defeats him, but sadly he escapes again. But the third is the last and final battle Dante has with him. Here, Nello Angelo unleashes his full power, but it proves to be futile as Dante manages to defeat him after a very difficult fight. However, in doing so, it is revealed that Nello Angelo is actually Dante's twin brother Virgil. How, you guys might ask? Well, let me tell you. As Dante defeats him, an amulet falls off of his body as Nello Angelo disappears, and when Dante goes to pick it up, he recognizes that this is the other half of the perfect amulet that belongs to his brother Virgil. So, some background information here again, so we all understand what is happening, and let's try to do this quickly. The timeline of the game is kind of not in chronological order, so let's say Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The third Devil May Cry game is actually, timeline-wise, the first game. Do you guys understand what I mean? Okay, stay with me here. There's a point to all of this. In this game, we see Dante opening up his unnamed shop, and a man with the name of Arkham hands him an invitation from Dante's brother Virgil in a form of a demon attack that enters his shop. After defeating these monsters, a tower erupts from the ground not too far away from the shop, and Dante can sense Virgil on top of this said tower. So he makes his way through this tower and ends up crossing over to the demon world to fight Arkham and his brother. As he defeats Arkham, he and Virgil have a battle over ownership over the Force Edge, which is the dormant form of Sparda, their father's demonic form, as well as the 2 amulet halves. Dante ends up winning, and Virgil decides to stay behind in the demon world, and as Dante leaves the demon world, however, he meets Lady, a foe that he actually befriends, and as he is sat there mourning his brother Virgil, Lady says the phrase, "Devil may cry," while trying to comfort Dante over the loss of Virgil. As to where the name of the shop comes from, are you guys still with me? Okay, so here is the important part. As Virgil stays behind, he happens to cross paths with Mundus himself, and despite being injured, he actually wants to challenge him, believing that he is also capable of defeating Mundus like his father Sparda once did. However, he is sadly defeated, and Mundus decides to recreate Virgil as Nello Angelo by removing his heart, his ego, and his will. Then he would use the halves of the perfect amulet to turn Nello Angelo into an obedient slave. Okay, so now that we know the backstory, let's continue where we left off. So, as Dante finally manages to defeat Nello Angelo, or Virgil, he is able to take possession of the other half of the perfect amulet. Dante then decides to connect these two halves to make it whole, and as he does so, the amulet glows and Dante's greatsword is transformed into its true form, Sparda. This weapon is a devil arm and a demon forged sword that Sparta himself wielded and imbued with his own power. Okay, all right, let's take a breather. I can actually understand how the story can be a little bit confusing. You would think they would start a game from scratch, like let's say the entire story, where they completely introduce you to the characters and who they are before anything, not having to go back to the origins in the third installment. I will be honest and say that I had no idea what was going on most of the gameplay, as I wasn't really into the gameplay the first time I played it. I didn't know any of the backstory or who any of these characters were, which made it actually really confusing, as you guys might think. But as you dive into the storyline and understand what is happening and who is who, the story is actually really cool. It's so interesting and has a lot of depth. The characters are well written and have great storylines, in my opinion. I mean, I'd take two sexy brothers hashing it out, playing the good and the evil any day, okay? But honestly, if you really want to understand the storyline of this, it would probably be best to play the third installment first, and then the first, and then the second, the fourth, and then the fifth. The novel and the manga editions also gives a lot of insight into this whole franchise and story, which is actually worth digging into if there's any interest. Alright, so back to the story. After Dante has actually slain Nello Angelo, he meets up with Trish, but he is lured into a trap by her where she reveals that she too is actually working for Mundus, and that this entire charade was orchestrated on purpose. Dante becomes trapped inside the lair of a demon called Nightmare, which engulfs him and transports him into a demon realm. Nightmare is basically a bioweapon created by Mundus, which has the appearance of green goo or like slime, which a bunch of like garbage submerged into it. And while inside of this demon realm, Dante has to fight different bosses to make his escape and is also attacked by Trish in the meantime. As he defeats the nightmare, however, the room starts to collapse, and as Trish is about to be crushed by the falling rocks, Dante rushes at her and then saves her life. And she's actually very moved by this act of kindness towards her and asks him why he would go so far as to save her. And as Dante walks away, he tells her that it is because she resembles his mother. He also makes it a point to state that even though she has his mother's appearance, she will never have her fire. He then leaves Trish behind and makes his way onward towards Mundus. Okay, so let's talk about the gameplay. So, this game is quite mission based and it's also very fast paced. The performance in the game is graded by how much time each of the missions actually took, how many of these red orbs you would gather by enemies, and how stylish your combat would be. And by stylish, I actually mean that there is a feature that rewards you for your elaborate skills of how many unbroken series of attacks you could perform. The fancier the combos you would do, the more stylish points you would get, and with this you'd collect currency to later be used for purchasing clothing and stuff. The game is quite a staple in the hack and slash genre, and it has received quite a lot of great reviews for its release. Since then, it has managed to gain quite a few more sequels until today has quite a dedicated fan base. It was just so new and different, which gave it such a cool breath of fresh air, I would say. So, the last part of the story takes Dante to meet with Mundus, and he is in his statue form. Here, Mundus has taken Trish and crucified her to the wall, warning Dante that if he thinks of even trying anything, Trish will be killed. And as Dante had left Trish, Mundus had actually made contact with her and was disappointed with her failure, so as to the consequence. So he had been listening in and eavesdropping and was now using Trish as a form of weakness for Dante. So as Dante is distracted looking at her, Mundus charges at him and manages to land an attack that stuns Dante. And as he is about to finish him off with a one last blow, Trish breaks free from her shackles and then pushes Dante away to take the impact of the attack herself. This seemingly kills Trish, and Dante becomes very enraged. Mundus then pulls him into another dimension where they are about to go head to head for a final confrontation. However, as Mundus is reveling in his power, tempting Dante with how he can bring multiple demons resembling his mother, just like Trish, Dante, with a mighty roar of silence, transforms and unleashes the full power of Sparta, and the final epic battle ensues. The battle is quite long and intensive, and I definitely say hard. However, in the end, Dante is victorious and goes back to see Trish. Here he grieves the loss of her, as she too had risked her life to save his, just like what his mother had done so many years ago, and now regretting not being able to save her. He leaves his amulet and sword with her and asks her to rest in peace. But as Dante is about to leave, he is again confronted by Mundus, who had actually not died. Dante, who is now greatly weakened in the human world, has to have another fight with Mundus, and sensing how his powers are weak and him not able to defeat Mundus anymore, Dante is unsure of what his next step should be. However, before anything can be done, Trish comes to the rescue and lends Dante her power, where it allows him to defeat Mundus and seal him off yet again. Now, the two reunite and hug each other tightly, and as Trish tries to apologize for what she has done, she begins to cry. And Dante ultimately sees this as her gaining some form of humanity, because devils never cry. Trish and Dante make their escape from the island on a plane as the island collapses, and in the credits, we can see that Trish and Dante have actually started working together at his shop, where he has renamed it to Devil Never Cry. And that, guys, that is where I leave you with the story. I hope you guys enjoy the retelling of this one, and do let me know if you enjoyed the game when you were younger. The game has quite of an interesting story, and it has truly unforgettable characters, which has rightfully earned this game its place in the Gaming Hall of Fame. Do let me know if there is any game you would like me to cover in the future, though. Now, as always, if you would like this video and you want to see more in the future, give it a thumbs up and remember to maybe subscribe. Have a lovely day, people, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!